The UA Sports Festival continues in this episode of My Hero Academia, and the semifinals come to an explosive end as we prepare for the final match, which is going to be Shoto Todoroki throwing down with Katsuki Bakugo. But as if that was not exciting enough, a brand new alternate storyline is beginning. There is a new villain on the streets. A villain with a deadly declaration to kill all heroes. First off, let me just say how incredibly hyped I am for the final match of Round 3 of the UA Sports Festival. I never imagined that it would go in this direction, and honestly, this has got to be one of the coolest fights and greatest matchups that I've ever seen in action anime history. Katsuki Bakugo with the power of explosions going up against Shoto Todoroki with the power of fire and ice. And yet, even with that, there is a brand new storyline beginning in this week's episode, which does not have anything to do with the UA Sports Festival, and that's the introduction of a brand new villain by the name of Stain. This is that guy who actually appeared at the very end of the very first season, the weird, creepy-looking ninja, and he's a hero killer. He goes out of his way to find heroes and slices and dices them to pieces. And in this week's episode, he actually ends up running into Tenya Ida's brother Tensei, otherwise known as Ingenium. And let me just say that I absolutely love the design of Ingenium's outfit. It's very similar to Tenya Ida's, and they seem to have very similar powers with being able to move very, very fast because they got mufflers built into their frigging legs. But despite how fast Ingenium is, Stain actually manages to defeat him in this episode and quite possibly killed him. The reason this scene hits so hard is because this is right after the match that Tenya has with Shoto Todoroki. That's right, this episode is not free of any action. In fact, it's got some of the coolest short battles that I've seen from the entire show. So let's just sort of go through all of them one by one. The first battle was Tenya Ida going up against Shiozaki, who is that girl who has the power of the vines in her hair, but he's way too fast, he overwhelms her, he gets directly behind her and pushes her directly right out of the ring. We also had Fumikage, who was going up against Mina Ashido, who unfortunately just stood no chance against this guy. I especially loved the battle between Katsuki Bakugo and Eijiro Kirishima. This is a battle that I was also very hyped for. Unfortunately, it doesn't last too long, but in the first half of the battle, Eijiro is actually pushing Katsuki back. Being able to harden his body and withstand all of his explosions, it actually looks like he might actually take the round. But of course, Katsuki's incredibly relentless in his battle and manages to constantly hit him with a barrage of explosions, which weaken him and end up throwing him right out of the ring. We also have another short battle between Katsuki Bakugo and Fumikage Tokiyami. Now, this is a bittersweet battle for me because Fumikage has become one of my favorite characters, but he does have one glaring weakness, and that's something that Katsuki ends up taking advantage of. He does this one explosive technique which he calls the flashbang, which creates a giant tremendous amount of light, which completely weakens all of Fumikage's abilities, allowing him to basically just submit defeat right there. And then that leads us to Tenya Ida going up against Shoto Todoroki. Another super epic battle that I could not wait to see. Learning everything that he saw from his battle with Izuku, he came up with this really great plan where he was going to try and utilize his speed to push him out of the ring. And he even was able to use his quirks to actually power up a lot of his signature attacks, like these amazingly badass kicks. All of the mufflers in the back of his legs kick into high gear, which just amplifies the power of every single attack that he has. And the first time, he actually runs away from his ice, dodges one of his attacks, and actually manages to nearly kick him in the face, using that momentum again to twirl back around and actually get one good kick on him. And then, and what I think was probably one of the coolest ideas ever, he just grabs onto Shoto right there and starts hauling ass towards the end of the ring. But before he could get there, it looks like Shoto had actually frozen the mufflers on his legs, which allows him to freeze him completely, ending this battle, and it is a shame, because this is the part of the episode which just hit me right here, because Tenya lost, he took his loss in stride, and he decided to want to call his brother, but he didn't pick up, because of course his brother was dealing with the killer Stain, and then he gets a call from his mother where she informs him that a killer actually got to his brother, and you can just see his world being crushed right there, because Tenya looks up to his brother so much. He wants to be just like him. And after just losing his match against Shoto Todoroki and learning that his brother had just been nearly killed and could possibly even be dead, it is just pouring salt all over the wound for him. And you just gotta feel bad for this character. And then there's the end of the episode, which is, of course, the build-up to the big battle with Shoto, Todoroki, and Katsuki Bakugo. I don't know how this one's going to go, and I honestly can't predict who's going to win. I just know that it's going to be exciting as all hell. There are a few other parts of this episode that I have not discussed quite yet, those mostly doing the scenes with Izuku Midoriya. The first half of the episode is essentially dedicated to his recovery. All of the bones in his right arm have completely shattered, and Recovery Girl is so disgusted by what has happened that she said that after this time she's going to heal him, she's never going to do it again unless he somehow manages to rein in that power and stop destroying his body. It was so bad that his entire right hand is kind of completely mangled and a little crooked, and you can even see scars all over this. But All Might manages to give him a big pep talk, and even mentioning some words about his master. And it's also officially confirmed that All Might is very similar to Izuku because, of course, he did not have a quirk himself until he was actually given this power. There's a shot of his actual master, like, hanging out in the city, like it's at night, and he's looking over and he's wearing this cape and he has long black hair. I just want to learn more about this guy. I want to know if he's actually still around, if he still has some sort of power, and it's also confirmed that apparently One for All can be combined with other quirk abilities, which is something that I think is very unique. You can actually technically have two different quirks in one, which leads me to believe that One for All is very, very special, and there might even be more abilities in the future, more things that characters can tap into, and they can create a lot of really cool, crazy combinations. But All Might, being the stand-up guy that he is, reassures Izuku that everything he did was good because meddling in things, even if they could result in a lot of damage and even harm to yourself, is truly the essence of what it means to be a hero. That's why Izuku was so frustrated at first, because one, of course, he wants to be the #1 hero and declare to everyone that, of course, I am here, but he also wanted to help out Shoto Todoroki. He wanted to bring out the best of his abilities, and you can just feel all of the frustration in his voice. But like I said, All Might reassures him that despite what he is saying, he still actually did a good thing. There's also a little bit of teasing again with the character of Stain at the very end of the episode, where he's confronted by the villain Kurogiri, who's one of those guys who appeared at the end of the first season, the Shadow Man, and it looks like they have big plans to try and recruit him or maybe bring him into the fold. This Stain character, by the way, man, he has just got such an awesome, creepy design. He resembles kind of like this weird, raggedy ninja. He has all of these sharp weapons. He kind of looks like a combination of Venom from Spider-Man and a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and he just seems batshit insane crazy, and I can't wait to see what he's going to add to the mythos of the series and how he's going to get tied into these other characters. The fact that he actually ended up possibly killing Tenya's brother leads me to believe that Tenya is going to be going after this guy, and I don't think it's going to be that easy, because his brother apparently was a great hero, but this guy supposedly just put him down with very little effort. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of My Hero Academia? Another fan-frigging-tastic episode of the series. I'm actually kind of shocked that we're getting through the UA Sports Festival this fast. I imagined that this was an arc that was going to go on for a lot longer, but here we are, at the finals. And what I love most about the series is that it is actually breaking free from the mold. If this were any other anime series, Izuku Midoriya would most definitely be in the finals. Instead, we have two intense rivals who are going to be throwing down with one another, both who have incredibly destructive powers. And I'm so conflicted on who to actually root for. I don't know if I want Katsuki to win or Shoto. I want Shoto to actually overcome everything with his family, but then again, I want to see Katsuki actually rise to the top, despite the fact that he's an absolute dickhead. But he's such a cool character, how he always manages to have an amazing strategy to get away from just about anything. I do believe that Katsuki is going to have an advantage in this battle, and I really think it's just going to come down to stamina in this one. With Katsuki being able to basically blow things up constantly, especially in a rapid-fire succession, there's no reason to say why he couldn't just destroy all of the ice that's going to be flying towards him. The fire might be a little different, but considering that he can also sort of harness that power in a way in his explosions, he could potentially just blast him constantly, and I'd really like to see how he's actually going to combat that. I think we're going to see some unique abilities from both of the characters, which were teased in this episode, reminding us that Shoto is a character who is dangerous whether he's really close to you or far away, and the same could be said for Katsuki Bakugo. There's a lot of things I'm sure he has up his sleeve, not to mention his actual mobility and being able to move through the air oh so quickly with his explosions. This battle's just gonna freaking rock, guys. I honestly cannot wait to see it. Like I said, I think the edge is going to go to Katsuki, and I think it would be interesting to see him win, but I mean, I can't call it on this one. It's just crazy. Now, for the other battles in this week's episode, just like a lot of the other ones in this final round, they all went really quick, but they were also really exciting. I especially loved watching Tenya fight against Shoto Todoroki, because I thought he actually stood a chance at first. I really thought that he might have potentially beaten him, because after the defeat of Izuku, anything can pretty much happen at this point, and that was such a smart move to actually just grab onto him and start just flying towards the edge of the ring. He should have immediately just thrown him out, but then again, we all know that he probably could have used his ice to stop him, create a wall behind him, so he had to get as close as possible, and this, of course, ended up resulting in his actual defeat. All the stuff with Izuku was very good, super heartwarming stuff, exactly what I like from the series, proving yet again that he is truly an amazing hero, and I still love that despite all of the things that he's been through, he's still going to continue to try and better himself, and he even has the strength to actually finally watch all of the matches and everything, so I can't wait to see him analyze next week's episode, because of course he is the super analytical hero when it comes to breaking down everyone's powers, so I can't wait to see his commentary and his play-by-play. Not to mention, this is sort of a turning point for him. Now that Recovery Girl is not going to heal him anymore, he is desperately going to have to find a way to actually like bring his powers in and make it so that he's not going to keep destroying his body. It's going to be big change for the character, but it's something that I can't wait to see. And then there is Stain. Stain. I've been waiting to see this character for so long, especially how he was teased at the end of last season. He's still pretty much doing exactly what he does, which is hanging out on rooftops and looking super badass and doing all these awesome poses. But, man, I just love his batshit crazy design. That close-up image of his face in this week's episode as he was licking one of his bloody blades looked so freaking awesome. And like I said, very reminiscent of a Ninja Turtle. He even has, like, the classic masks that they wear, too. That's kind of the feel that I actually get from his character. And the fact that the other, like, League of Villains are going to be coming in and trying to bring him into the fold is interesting. I can't wait to see if he's actually going to be able to gel with them or if he's just a little too crazy for their organization. And his overall motives don't really seem too deep outside of the fact that he just wants to destroy all heroes, All Might in particular, so he might have some sort of very close tie to that character, so I can't wait to see what that's all going to lead to. Maybe he was defeated by the One for All abilities, maybe he was a possible person who could have inherited them but never had the opportunity, and as far as what his quirk is, it's kind of hard to tell, because he basically is just really agile like a ninja and uses knives. I'm not sure if he has like a super signature ability. Maybe he's just that awesome that he only needs his weapons to actually fight against all of these heroes, which I think would be a really nice twist for the show, but I have a feeling there's a lot more about this character that we don't know. They're probably trying to keep it mysterious, and he probably has a quirk which is really going to shake things up. That in this episode just had some great production value behind it. This was another great looking episode with some awesome action scenes. The Tenya one in particular, I love watching him do his kicks when he powers them up with his quirk. Shoto was just so overwhelmingly awesome, and Katsuki Bakugo, despite the fact that he is kind of a jerk, is just one of the coolest characters ever. I love that guy. So, cannot wait to see how the finals are going to go down and how this other story is going to possibly tie into that and maybe even shake things up in the future. It's clearly a build-up for the next arc in the series, and I'm very excited for that one. But for now, let's just get hyped for this final battle. It's going to be awesome, and so was this week's episode, which I have no problems with giving a 5 out of 5. This was another incredibly entertaining episode with tons of action, great story progression, and even great characterization, especially for the main character, who continues to be one of the greatest anime heroes of all time. So check it out, My Hero Academia fans! If any of you did watch this week's episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below, and what you hope to see from the big finale. Who is going to win, Shoto Todoroki or Katsuki Bakugo? What do you think of the brand new villain Stain, and what do you hope to see from the rest of this second season? Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things My Hero Academia anime related. Please leave me a comment telling me what you thought about the episode, if there's anything you want to talk with me about, or of course, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Just hit that like button. It's real easy to do and it helps us out a lot. But if you didn't like this video for some crazy reason, give it a thumbs down. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.